Hello and welcome to Transcendental Waves. I am Michael Burrows.
And I'm Jeff Bailey. With the recent events that happened with the little boy getting shot by the police officer, and kind of how that's just like constantly a theme in news today, some sort of police violence. And I'll admit that, some of it seems fabricated by the media, some of it's a little over dramatized, but the fact of the matter is that, we have a police problem, and it's not even necessarily like that, these people are doing these things on purpose. I just think the system is set up to create.
Monsters?
Yeah. Our police force is like almost like the new age tax men, and just like a militia force for the government, instead of it being like actually there to protect people.
Right, and when I feel like when you say that, you're not just meaning like federal control. I mean, it's like the local governments using them as their little, bodyguards and little tax collector enforcers.
Mini militias. Depending on where you live,
You vote those people in, and then you got to do exactly what they. Dude, people used to get the shit beat out of them and killed left and right. I'm finding out all these stories, man, and we're told, that the government's here to protect us and cops are our friends. Like, dude, when you start digging deep into this, you realize why people have been oppressed for so long and why there is so much discord and hate for this system of police. And then you look at other countries, their models don't even have police. And you're like, oh, they're just like the nicest, friendliest, safest places to be. Like, why?
I was looking some stuff up about the police brutality, and just where America ranks in some of the shootings and deaths, and I can't remember exact numbers. It's America's in the top 10 somewhere, in killings, in the top 20 or 30 somewhere in there, about how many actual police shootings they've had, and then you look at Denmark and Norway and some of those countries, and they haven't reported a death since 2013 or something, and one of them had only had one in the history of its country, somebody being killed by a cop.
Dude, thank God for body cams right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
I have had to request body cam footage before, and that'll be a different podcast for a different day. It is the atrocities that used to happen. Get a lot of certain demographics understand this more than middle class and upper class white people. Like, growing up, we're taught that, or we're told and taught, we're indoctrinated with propaganda that if you don't do anything wrong, you have nothing to fear from the police. Yeah, there's stories all over.
It's just a good old boys club, and really, like you were saying earlier, it's not even just on the federal level. The FBI and the CIA, they're all corrupt, and that's a different podcast as well. But it is each little county and different cities have their own little militia force, and it's we've who decides what's
wrong. And
wrong.
if you're in the system, if you're in that force, guess who gets special treatment?
Yeah,
you. Guess who doesn't? The fucking poor people.
Yeah, and we're seeing it all the time. Cops will be fired from one county and go get a job in another county, and it's just it is a club, and that's the thing, is we don't hold these people to a high enough standard. I'm not one of those defund the police. I think that it would be a gradual cycle in America to where we would where we could reach the Denmark levels of not needing police, because the police state has created such a violent crime.
I see police kill people every day. I mean, police kill more people than we probably have, currently we're at war with the war on terror or whatever. I mean, I guess any militant group that's actively killing people in our country, I guess the police would be the only ones doing it, and so many times these people ain't doing nothing. I mean, just think, if you're not doing nothing and a cop has a bad day or just wants to pick on you for anything, and we all know this could happen for any reason, if you try to run away, I mean, should you know how, and you just want to run away from a bad situation, you can't even fucking run. Your ass is gonna get shot, That's some scary shit to think about. Now, I don't know where you live in the United States where that's not a possibility of happening, but in fucking Tennessee, that shit's real.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that like the crazy thing is like I think there'd be people out there that would justify like, well, you shouldn't have ran, you shouldn't have done
They
this.
do it like, all the time. Like, you see this backlash, and I'm like, man, I used to wonder, and I'm like, man, I just don't get it. Why these people are just get off the cops' backs, man. They're just trying to do the best they can. And then once you just see enough of it, and you get old enough, and you realize the systems of control,
I
and
think some of those cops are trying to do the best they can. Like I don't think that they the training is terrible. Like that's what I'm saying. The system is set up to create monsters.
it's the system.
The way like we're
That
set,
system
we're
will
taught
take
to
any
like
good-hearted person and fuck them up.
they're taught to profile. They're taught to stereotype. I mean, and that's the thing. And like we
We're not gonna badmouth. We're not here to badmouth cops. We're just here to, open your mind to things that you may think don't exist.
and everybody's gonna have like, well, I know a guy and he's a cop and he's a great dude, and I'm sure he is. There's a lot of good people that go into those organizations because they were a little kid that wanted to be a hero.
Yeah, I'm a great person. I was in the army doing army things. Being in today's army and being in today's police force is like being one of the Jews who had to control the other Jews, so they got special treatment and wouldn't get killed. And it's just, I mean, I feel bad that the system's set up the way it is. I feel bad that it destroys people and relationships, and it just pits humans against each other. I mean, how much could police be doing good for the community, and you just get pulled over for speeding or a fucking light out on your car or something? I mean, and then it just escalates, and then these people get fines. I mean, it's not even just the police that do this thing. Once the police stop you and give you a ticket, the amount of revenue that the government collects from that will fuck any poor person up.
I think that's what I was like thinking about when you're saying that. Is it the biggest thing that makes like the police force in our country like one of the worst ones in the world is that it's like a giant business. Like if you look in like on that list where it was talking about police shootings and police brutality, these like the other countries in those lists are like either under civil wars or have very very strict governments to where like anybody that speaks out against their government is just getting like cut off, and it's just like totalitarian governments, big like dictatorship. And then like the Denmarks of the world like is like they're socialists. They don't need the revenue. The police are public servants. They don't need them to go out and create money. Like they don't, that's taken care of. Like it's really like
And I swear, if you guys are watching the Hunger Games or seeing those movies or the newest one, it's just like exposing this. Like these artists that are composing these movies, man, there is so much philosophy that's going into them, and you just see like the police force just controlling people and herding them around, and just extinguishing free thought and self motivation and drive, and it's just, man, it stifles it. And like sometimes people just get on there and just think it's the best thing in the world and that we need policing because people are stupid. And I'm just like, oh, the world's crazy.
yeah, I don't, man. Like the thing is like I've never been to defund the police, and I do think that like, okay, if you look into like some of the violent crime statistics, like the places that have the like highest gun control for their citizens have the highest violent crimes, and it's just like, I think that like, places like that, we need some sort of police. It's just like there's the training's so poor, and the relationship between the community, it's not of a public servant anymore. It's like nobody like is waving at the cop and like, hey, how's it going? Like everybody is like scared of cops.
Everyone is scared of cops, and you should be.
Yeah, like,
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, and it's just like this capitalistic structure where, just think if cops really were our friends, Oh man, it'd be good. I don't know. We should call them something else than cops, or policemen. Maybe they'd be like peace people or something.
Peacekeepers.
Yeah, like the
I
movie.
mean, I think that is in a movie.
It is. Or even the Peace Corps. I mean, the sad thing is, such as me, when I was a young warthog, I didn't realize that I was joining the machine. I was joining part of the destructive machine in America by enlisting in the army. It's the same with these cops, man. They don't know that they're getting into a system that is fueled by corporate capitalistic greed, and bribes and power. It's all it is. Now, you might think you're going to get in there and do some good with that, oh, I got control over all this community. I'm the good guy. I'm going to make sure it's good and just, until something happens and you need something, you scratch your back, scratch mine, and then one thing leads to another. And then you got a whole Jeffrey Epstein list, and this happens all the fucking time.
Yeah, and it happens at a lot of the smaller levels. It's a little bit of embezzlement here. Somebody throws you a little bit of money, and then the next thing you know, you're stuck in something you don't want to be a part of. But, like...
And we ain't calling out names, but, this happens everywhere.
Yeah, every county, every city, there's been something that's probably gone down. And a lot of it is, like... I mean, these cops, like... they're not making a lot of money. A lot of these cops are having to work, like... second jobs, like, to support their family, and they're like, it's a dangerous job. Like, that's the thing. Like, these guys that a lot of these are like, shooting people are terrified. They don't know what they're doing. They're poorly trained. We're putting people in a position to like perpetuate cycles of hate. Every time one of these things happen, they try to stir up some sort of like race war or some shit.
They are enablers, right?
Yeah.
It's like they are enabling all the bad stuff in society to keep going on. It's like they're fueling it, by fighting it. And it's like, you can't fight, with hate. You got to fight with love, and you can't even fight. You got to educate, and you got to change. You got to evolve.
That's the thing. I feel like that the people that are creating like the training manuals for police forces either are ignorant or doing it on purpose.
I feel like they're like Julius Caesar types. Like, oh, this is the way to do it. We got to keep people in order and control.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just like, to me, there's like been enough psychology and science in the world to know that, like,
that doesn't work.
Hate perpetuates more hate, and like the more we're just like a police state and trying to be like this militia force that keeps people under control, the more they fight back.
We would think that. I mean, maybe in America, but like, look at all over the other. Like, I would have thought Israel was smarter than that, but they're not.
Yeah, well,
you just.
Dude, I'm not even sure who's using who in that scenario anymore, Israel or United States, but that's a different podcast too, man. I mean, I don't really, I've had several, like, interactions with police officers where it feels like they use intimidation as, like, a modus of or, how they operate. They want people to be scared. You watch these videos where it's like people know their rights and just walking around with their own body cams and filming their interactions with cops. And all these cops try to scare them into doing what they want. And like, and it's like, that's trained into them until somebody like, one of their higher ups that's like, shit, this dude knows the law. Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Right.
Like,
yeah. You have so many rights that you probably aren't even aware of. I mean, especially if you're like, oh my, yeah, you just probably don't even know all your rights, and all the rights you're getting taken away. And, you think you're free. I joined the army to fight for freedoms. And then I realized I was part of something that wasn't making freedom. It was fighting it by stifling freedom. It was time to get out. So, it's weird how that all works. It's almost like Socrates when he did the same thing. And when he found that out, he told everybody. Then they killed him, The government is not killing people right now, at least not that we know of, but especially if you're not naming names.
I mean, I think that, like, the police are kind of the same as what you just said. Most people, like, go into those professions wanting to be a hero. They're not making a ton of money. And, I mean, the unfortunate thing is most people, I don't think, recognize when they're being used. I mean, they just, as long as they're receiving some sort of benefit from it, like, that's the thing. Like, some of these people are just like, they get in that system and then they're like, oh, this is kind of a bad thing that's happening here, but I got to support my family or whatever, so I'm going to go along with it. or there's just people that are oblivious that are just like, helping operate this thing on the periphery that are just trained poorly and easily manipulated.
It seems like the police states in other countries that don't use police states and police militias like us, their police force is turned into, I guess I would look at it as a social working force. And I don't think we should defund the police either. I think we should take all those funds and change it over to a social working force, a real program to really help people with all the things that they have. Because, social work entangles every part of our life, just like policing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest though, man, like that's the thing. I think that we're gonna get a counter argument of people saying that they just like there's so many violent crimes and there's such a thing like, and I think that our society has created. We've talked about other problems that like the whole American society has created, and I do think that like the poverty gap that is created in our capitalist society has created areas of extreme crime. And like it wouldn't be just like, oh, we got to just change police into social workers. That could be an end goal, but there needs to be like a transition period of a time where we like
There's a lot of things that
rebuild
gotta
society.
change.
Yeah, we have to
Yes.
rebuild society in different ways to create a place for people to be productive and
Right.
creative instead
Exactly.
of
It's a
starving to
whole
death.
pie,
Yeah, like when people are starving to death and like
Of course there's gonna be
fighting
crime,
for
right?
scraps, there's a lot more crime. And yeah,
Just
like
like
that's
that
the
movie
thing.
Aladdin, like he's like, I gotta steal to eat and I gotta eat to live, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. These countries that have low police brutality rates also have low crime rates and also have like low homeless rates. There's a lot of
Low
different
starving,
yeah,
right.
yeah, there's a lot of things that they've checked off a lot of boxes to make sure their police don't have to carry guns.
Right.
Because I mean, when people are just like afraid for their lives,
And
they're
here we're
carrying
just trying
guns
to get
everywhere.
more guns, right?
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
Now, not only do you need more guns, let's give you assault guns, let's give you assault rifles. I mean, hell, some police forces probably got tanks and 50 cals and shit. I mean,
There is, and it's crazy. Like that's what I'm saying, and it's like I'm not even saying that some of those places don't feel justified and can't give you a reason for doing it.
oh,
We
hell
have
yeah, they
to,
justified every bit of it.
we have to
you
overhaul
have
the
to
way we
justify it to
think.
get it.
Yeah, we have to overhaul the way we think about like crime and criminality and the way like I mean it's the same thing we've talked about in addiction, where it's just like we've put people in all these terrible situations, and then when they make a bad decision, we want to punish them, and it doesn't make sense to me when we're causing the
Right,
problem.
almost forcing them to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Right. It almost be like the civilian, version of a militant, following orders and doing something illegal, but not that our military ever does that. I'm just saying, in theory, sometimes you just do things, that you have to get done, and whether it hurts people or not, if you want to survive, you might make the choice that's not good for other humans, and we seem like in America, at least, we put a lot of people in that when we don't have to. So it seems like some places you would have to, but in the country that makes the most money in the whole world and has the most resources in the whole world, it's not something that we should have to do when there's other countries with less than we have not doing it. So we have more. Why do we have to do it? There's reasons we have to do it. And that's what we are trying to get you guys to go find out.
There is a wage gap for a reason. Like there's a reason why most of us live below a certain means, and there's very few people that control everything in this world, and they just use police as part of their system to like keep us hating each other. Like I think that we've created these systems where police are poorly trained, sent into neighborhoods where at this point a lot of these places I would be terrified to see cops as well. It's just a whole thing where it's like we've got to look at that and figure out what we can do to like make police public servants and heroes again.
Right, yeah. But what can we do to make police heroes again? Man, it's like, police sometimes will go into the community and, just get spit on and all these things. And it's like, what would you expect? Should people be fucking clapping and like thanking you for coming next to them? No, get the hell away. Like, do you know how many of you guys historically have fucking beat and killed people? Like, we don't want you in our community. That's what these people's thinking. And it's like crazy, man. And
Yeah,
here
man.
the policemen are just like, hey, you should listen. You should obey. You should respect us. You know, and it's funny, like people here around the Bible Belt are like, you got to earn your respect. Like you understand the police force has just been disrespecting so many people of certain demographics forever, and they're still doing it.
Well,
And we should respect them.
they'll like they make fear and respect equal things. That's what I'm saying. They use like the power of the law, and they know that like, especially before the body cams, we talked about the body cams being a great thing, but it's like their word versus yours, and they're like, who's gonna believe you when they're the quote unquote law? Like, and then they use that
Exactly.
for such a long time, and it's just like
And it worked.
it
You
still
know,
works for the most part.
it
Even
still
like even with the
works.
body cam stuff, like a lot of these shootings and stuff, that there is a lot of loopholes and stuff gone through. Like, I mean, there's obviously good and bad like people, and somebody will be like, oh, it's bad cops, but the fact of the matter is the system is set up to where like you'll see these cops that are quote unquote good cops protecting the bad ones in order to not look like they're bad. Like, and it's just like that does make you a bad person if you're protecting somebody that does something bad because you're afraid to be guilty by association. Then you are bad.
Yep, and like we've seen it over and over. Like we see it in our community, we see it in the next community over, we see it on the national news, we see it on the state news. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, when was the last place you saw policemen not doing corrupt shit?
I mean, dude, I don't know. I have some like positive things on my little streams too that come up with cops going and doing little birthday parties for kids and stuff like that. And to me, like, it's part of me is like, is the cynic is just like, is that just indoctrination to like, you know, come be a cop because our recruiting numbers are low? And I know that some of those people are just good people and they want to help the community, and that's why most people are being cops. But that's what happens is that dude's been poorly trained, and then all of a sudden he gets put in a place where there is something bad happening, and he doesn't know how to make split decisions.
And maybe he's poorly trained, or maybe he's just indoctrinated, or maybe he's programmed. I mean, no police force is going to tell you their people are poorly trained.
I guess, yeah, when I say poorly trained, I think it's on purpose. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think that like whoever sets up the standards and regulations and makes sure that this is what it takes to be a cop,
No,
like,
they're not poorly trained. They are highly trained to act a specific way, right?
right. But it's just like we need to rethink the way they're trained, and like we need to do it differently. We need to train people how to like de-escalate situations, handle human relationships without needing to be like, I've got a gun. If you don't listen to me, I'll shoot you. Like, there's different ways to handle problems other than doing that. And like that's what I'm saying is like some of these situations are just like awful situations where a cop is put in an obviously dangerous situation and they get scared and they shoot someone. But some of these situations are just like an a relatively calm situation that the cop is the one making
Escalating
the
it.
problem worse and worse and worse and worse and escalating until the point of them freaking themselves out and shooting everyone.
Yep.
And it's just like that to me it's just like it has to be like some sort of just like you said indoctrination whatever, but like they're taught to just like go in there being loud and take control of the situation, and that doesn't always work. Like, it's just not. I don't know, man. Like, I know it's a really hard job, but I mean, we just have way too many incidents in this country of just like police brutality. And if you look, like, I looked at during the same amount of time.
I don't think
had,
we
like,
need more cops.
No.
It's like we need less cops, and we need cops doing less stupid shit.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is we need cops doing a very specific job, not collecting taxes for the government. And that's the whole thing is like these police forces have become a job, and they've just like basically you're going out and collecting revenue and you will get your share, which is a very small amount. Most of these cops get paid very like
Police current. Do you guys understand? You're just tax collectors. That's what the country's viewing you as. You joined the system. You did it to yourselves. The people before you did it. It is what it is. First step to fixing a problem is owning it. You got to own the fucking problem first.
and I guess we're scared because they're like, well, if we admit that, it's just like, well, then like we're gonna lose so many jobs, and then these people are gonna not have a job. But
Then
the
the
fact of
people
the
aren't
matter,
gonna like us and respect us.
The
Yo,
fact-
it's all fake. It's all fucking for show. We don't like you. Don't we fucking respect you? We just smile and fucking wave.
Well, the fact that we have to like, I mean, some of these police forces, if they're struggling to pay their officers, I mean, how do you think they fix that? Like, they pull you over, write more speeding tickets.
I know.
They put more people on probation. They have different like ways to fine and tax people, and it's just like, are really everything that like when we decide what's right and wrong for people, are we doing it in order to collect more invisible taxes from people, or are we really protecting people's freedoms? Like, that's the thing. Like, anything that infringes on other people's freedoms should be protected by some sort of police force, but it should there's a lot of things that we get citations and just pay our government for that shouldn't be anybody's business what you're doing.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, let us know what you think about cops. Let us know some stories. Any personal stories that you've had. If you want to, be a guest and talk about some stories. If you ever been oppressed by some cops, we'd love to, share your story and get it out. A lot of people don't even talk about this.
Like, comment, subscribe. Show us your body cam footage.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be so awesome.
All right. See y'all later.